Let's be honest, when you look at BTS, it's more than just 7 guys performing on stage. You're watching a living, breathing brotherhood. But here's the million-dollar question that nobody dares to ask out loud. Do they all care about each other equally? Or is there someone who loves harder, protects more fiercely, and sacrifices silently behind the spotlight? Think about it. Behind those flawless stage performances, viral TikTok clips, and award-winning albums, there's an entire emotional world that we rarely see. Who's the one that checks in at 2 amperes? Who's the quiet protector? Who hides their care behind jokes? And who's that member that always sacrifices their own spotlight just to make another shine brighter? We're diving into something most fans feel but rarely say out loud. We're ranking BTS members not by looks, vocals, or dance, but by how much they care about each other. That's right. Not how they care about us, the army. We know they love us, but how deeply, how consistently, and how selflessly they care about each other. This is not a fan vote. This is based on years of interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, reverse posts, tears on tour, unspoken gestures, subtle protectiveness, and the way they choose family over fame. It's gonna get emotional. It's gonna get real. And no, this isn't about favoritism, because let's be clear, all 7 members love each other deeply. But in every group, there are moments of emotional leadership, people who silently carry the others, and members who feel things harder than the rest. So, buckle up. This isn't a ranking to divide, but a journey to understand the beautiful complexity of their bond. From the ones who show affection with loud laughter and playful teasing, to those who say everything with a single glance when the cameras aren't even rolling. And before you jump to conclusions, think again. What if the member you thought was distant was actually the one who cried alone backstage when another was hurting? What if the one who talks the least about emotions is the one who feels the most? What if caring isn't about hugs or words, but about staying up late to rewrite lyrics with a brother who's doubting himself? Ready to explore a side of BTS that you've always felt but never fully realized? Ready to fall in love with them again, for reasons even deeper than music? Then let's dive in. This is BTS members, ranked by how much they care about each other. Starting now. Number 7. Suga, the quiet watcher. Suga Min Yoongi isn't the loudest when it comes to emotions. In fact, if you're just joining the BTS journey, you might think he's cold, distant, or even indifferent at times. But you'd be wildly wrong. Suga is the classic case of still waters run deep. He's not the guy who shouts "I love you" every 5 minutes. He's the guy who stays back when everyone's celebrating, keeping an eye on those who might be silently struggling. Let's rewind to 2018, when BTS was going through an overwhelming surge of global fame. Most fans remember the glitz, the Billboard Awards, the UN speech, the stadiums, but Suga? He was the one consistently asking in interviews whether the members were taking care of themselves. He asked Jimin if he was sleeping. He asked Jungkook if his knees were okay. He asked Jin if he'd eaten. All of it off mic, all of it quietly, often missed by the cameras, but captured by fans who look closer. There's this legendary moment in a Bangtan Bomb where Jungkook looked particularly drained after rehearsal. No dramatic speech, no fanfare, just Suga walking by, handing him a hot drink, and murmuring, "Don't skip dinner again." And that's the thing with Suga. His care isn't performative. He doesn't express it for the world to see. He expresses it where it matters, in those quiet seconds that never go viral. Remember when J-Hope was struggling with his mixtape and went silent for days? Suga didn't confront him. He just sat beside him in the studio one night and listened. He didn't say, "You'll be fine." He didn't try to fix it. He just showed up. That's Suga's love language: presence. Consistent, dependable, non-intrusive presence. He also has this uncanny ability to detect emotional shifts before anyone else. RM once revealed in an interview that Suga always knows when someone's faking a smile. "Even before I realize I'm stressed, Yoon Gi-hyung will text me out of nowhere saying, 'Want to talk?' That's the kind of emotional radar most people spend a lifetime developing. Suga was born with it. But why is he ranked 7th, then? Simple. It's not about less love. It's about how he expresses it. Suga's love is like an underground stream, essential, nourishing, and always there, but unless you really dig deep, you might not even know it's flowing beneath your feet. He won't post long birthday tributes. He won't cry on stage. But he'll write lyrics about the members that'll break your heart if you listen closely. He'll mention them in solo interviews, thanking them for things he never says to their faces. He's the member who'll say, "We've already talked about this," when you ask if BTS discusses their feelings. Because for Suga, words aren't the way he loves. Actions are, presence is, protection is. And sometimes, the ones who don't say, "I care," are the ones who care the most. So if you ever catch him sitting quietly in a corner while the others are laughing, don't be fooled. He's not disconnected. He's watching, feeling, absorbing. And when someone falls, he'll be the first to offer a hand without needing the world to see it. That's Yoongi. That's love without an audience. And now, what about the member who hides care beneath playfulness? Someone you've always thought was the sunshine of the group but is actually the emotional sponge of the team. Number 6. J-Hope, the hidden backbone. If BTS were a house, J-Hope would be the beam you never see, but without it, everything collapses. The world knows him as the group's sunshine, always smiling, dancing with wild energy, hyping up crowds, and spreading positive vibes. But here's the real truth. ARMYs know deep down, J-Hope hides his heartbreak behind laughter. He's not just the happy guy. He's the anchor when the room gets too heavy, the emotional sponge when tensions rise, and the guardian who absorbs pain and transforms it into joy for others. Let's rewind to their trainee days. Back then, J-Hope almost quit BTS. And not because he wasn't good enough, oh no, he was already a standout dancer. He left because he felt like he wasn't needed. But when he walked away, it wasn't the staff who begged him to return. It wasn't even the company. It was Jungkook the youngest, crying his heart out, and RM, who personally begged him to stay. That moment proved what the team already knew. BTS without J-Hope wasn't BTS at all. And that sense of responsibility has stuck with him ever since. Fast forward to 2020, the Map of the Soul 7 era. The weight of global fame was starting to crack even the strongest walls. Suga had shoulder surgery. Jin was feeling the pressure of enlistment. Jungkook was battling with expectations. Jimin was in tears backstage. And J-Hope, he danced harder, smiled wider, laughed louder. Not because he was unaffected, but because someone had to keep the light on when everything felt dark. That's the burden he chose without ever complaining. Do you remember how he handled his own solo mixtape release, Hope World? He barely promoted it. He downplayed the success. Why? Because the group was always his priority. While other artists might have used a solo project as an escape or a spotlight grab, J-Hope treated his as a tribute to the team's journey, a colorful world designed to uplift fans and take pressure off the group's collective shoulder. That's the kind of care that doesn't ask for praise. And let's talk about the way he takes care of the younger members. He may not always be the one who says, "I love you," with words, but his body language screams support. In rehearsals, he's the one adjusting Jungkook's posture or giving Taehyung that slight nod when he nails a move. During interviews, he's constantly watching Jimin's expression, ready to jump in with a joke if things get too serious. He knows when to lighten the mood and when to stay silent and let someone else shine. But here's where it gets even deeper. J-Hope also protects the group from external energy. He's the emotional gatekeeper. When negative press or harsh fan comments start swirling, he's often the first to post a happy update, a dance video, or a goofy selfie. Not to distract, but to shield. He knows how much ARMY's mood affects the members, and he's made it his mission to be the buffer. There's a now iconic behind-the-scenes moment after an exhausting concert where everyone looked drained. No one said a word. The room was quiet, heavy, and then J-Hope walked in, limping from his ankle pain but still smiling. He clapped, hugged each member, and simply said, "We did well, right?" And just like that, the room breathed again. Yet, despite all that, J-Hope never puts himself first. He's the last to cry, the last to vent, the last to show pain. And that's exactly why he's 6th on this list, not because he cares less, but because he gives so much that sometimes he forgets to care for himself. He's the human version of a safety net, never noticed until someone's about to fall. Now, what about the member who's been quietly evolving from shy kid to emotional protector, while holding the weight of the group's pressure on his youngest shoulders? It's time to talk about Number 5. Jungkook, the youngest with the heaviest heart. At first glance, Jungkook is the golden maknae, the flawless performer, the heartthrob, the untouchable superstar. But look closer, really closer. Behind that perfectly timed footwork, those piercing vocals, and the cheeky smile, is a young man who's been carrying the weight of 7 hearts since he was a teenager. When Jungkook first joined BTS, he was just 15 years old. A kid. A wide-eyed trainee who looked up to 6 older brothers not just as teammates but as father figures, mentors, protectors. And yet, somewhere along the way, something unexpected happened. Jungkook didn't just grow up. He became their strength, too. One of the most telling signs of his care? The way he watches the others, not in a casual way, but like his life depends on reading their emotions. When Taehyung zones out or gets quiet during a group interview, Jungkook will lean in just a little, ready to lighten the mood. When Jin jokes too much to cover nerves, Jungkook chuckles along, but you'll notice his eyes scanning for signs of discomfort. And when Jimin cries, Jungkook breaks every single time. He's cried more for Jimin than for himself. Remember that viral moment when J-Hope broke down during their final Love Yourself concert? Cameras caught Jungkook sprinting over to hug him before anyone else even moved. That wasn't choreography. That was instinct. That was love. He's also the member who constantly seeks validation from the Hyungs, not out of insecurity, but out of respect. When he nails a high note or aces a choreo move, his eyes immediately dart to Namjoon or Hoseok, hoping to see a nod, a smile, a "you did well." Why? because their approval matters more to him than any chart or trophy. That's the sign of someone who doesn't just admire his group but lives for them. And let's not forget how fiercely protective he is. When scandals or hate surround a member, Jungkook doesn't just defend them, he shields them. During the infamous controversy days when older members were being scrutinized by the media, Jungkook began uploading more dance videos, more workout clips, more happy content not for attention, but to distract, to deflect, to take the heat off his brothers. That's not just loyalty, that's strategic emotional care. His tattoos tell stories, too. Look at the ones on his hand, especially the Army ink and the J initials. Most fans think it's just for the fandom, but insiders have hinted that each letter symbolizes the members themselves. His body, quite literally, is a canvas of commitment. But here's where it gets heartbreaking. Jungkook often overcares. He pushes himself too hard, not because of ego, but because he doesn't want to let them down. If a member's feeling low, he stays up composing songs about hope. If someone's sick, he doubles his effort in dance practice, so the stage doesn't suffer. He once fainted after rehearsal, not because he was weak, but because he refused to eat while others were fasting. He's the youngest, but in many ways, he's become the heart of BTS's emotional rhythm. And while he might not express his love through poetic words like Namjoon or artistic metaphors like Yoongi, Jungkook's way of caring is full body. He gives everything energy, time, strength, until there's nothing left. And then he still smiles. So why is he fifth on this list? Because he's still learning that caring for others starts with caring for yourself, too. But even with that journey still unfolding, there's no denying, Jungkook feels everything. And when BTS hurts, Jungkook bleeds. Now, who could possibly rank above him? Who's the member that seems playful on the surface, but is secretly the most emotionally intuitive, sensitive, and heartbreakingly self-sacrificing? Number 4. Jimin, the empath wrapped in stardust. If love had a face in BTS, it might look a lot like Park Jimin. He's the hugger, the listener, the "are you okay?" guy. But don't let the soft voice and angelic visuals fool you. Jimin's way of caring cuts deeper than most realize. He's not just emotionally open. He's emotionally transparent, absorptive, and often self-sacrificing to a fault. From the very beginning, Jimin stood out not just for his incredible dance lines and vocal color, but for how fiercely he wanted to belong. He wasn't the strongest trainee, he wasn't the most stable vocally, but he worked until his body gave out. And you know why? Not just to prove himself to the world, but because he didn't want to let the others down. Even back then, Jimin wasn't just fighting for a dream, he was fighting for a family. There's a moment from their early American hustle life days that still haunts longtime armies. The boys were stressed, hungry, jet-lagged, and emotionally fried. And who was the one comforting others, joking around, distracting with silliness? Jimin. Who was the one who hid in the bathroom to cry by himself later? Jimin. His pattern has always been this: give light, absorb darkness. Fast forward to their stadium era during the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour. Jimin would perform with explosive energy, singing his soul out, hugging members mid-stage, lifting moods during breaks. But backstage? Countless fan cams have caught him collapsing physically and emotionally. He'd apologize even when no one was blaming him. That's the kind of person who doesn't just feel his own emotions, he feels everyone else's, too. One of the most gut-wrenching examples? When Jungkook got injured during a concert in London and had to perform sitting down, the entire group was shaken. But Jimin? He didn't just cry. He broke down, apologizing to fans on behalf of Jungkook, even though it wasn't his fault. That's how emotionally intertwined he is with the members. When they hurt, he aches. When they fall, he blames himself. He's also the only member who's consistently written letters, texts, and even songs about the members. Promise wasn't just for fans. It was a promise to himself, to BTS, to be better for them. He said in interviews that he often stays up thinking about what more he could do for the group. That level of emotional introspection. Rare, dangerous, beautiful. But perhaps Jimin's most powerful form of care is his instinct. He doesn't wait for someone to ask for help. He just knows. Like when Taehyung went quiet during Bon Voyage. Or when RM got too in his head about leadership decisions. Or when Suga disappeared into his own mind. Jimin was there. Always. Without question. Without conditions. And when BTS is celebrating a high, Jimin celebrates the others first. Watch any award speech, they'll tell you. He always thanks the team before himself. Always redirects praise. Always makes sure someone else is okay. Because for Jimin, caring isn't just an act, it's his identity. So why isn't he number 1? Because sometimes, Jimin cares so much for others that he forgets to protect himself. And that's the double-edged sword of empathy. It makes him an emotional guardian, but also the most emotionally fragile. He bruises where no one can see. But one thing is clear. When BTS needs love, comfort, and unconditional emotional presence, Jimin is the first responder. The warmth in winter, the umbrella in a storm, and often, the reason the others keep going. But what about the member who seems calm on the outside, yet quietly carries the entire weight of the group's emotions, who never asks for attention, but constantly watches over everyone like a silent guardian? Number 3. V, the silent soulkeeper. Kim Taehyung, or V, is a riddle wrapped in velvet. Outwardly, he's the mysterious visual prince, the baritone heartthrob, the quirky oddball who wears berets and plays saxophone at dawn. But underneath that whimsical charm is something far rarer, a soul that feels everything, but speaks of almost nothing. And when it comes to caring for BTS, he does it in the quietest, yet most profound ways. Let's start with something not everyone knows. Taehyung is one of the most introspective members. While others verbalize their worries or lean into each other for support, V often disappears into his own mind. But don't mistake that for distance. In fact, that's when he's the most tuned in. He doesn't need to ask you how you are, he feels it. And if you watch closely, you'll see him adjusting his energy in real time, based on the emotional temperature of the room. One unforgettable moment happened during Bon Voyage Season 2. The group had just finished a long day, and tensions were bubbling beneath the surface. Most were tired, silent. Then V, without warning, just started dancing sillily, like a kid. No cameras prompted him, no script, just him being goofy. At first, the members blinked, but slowly, one by one, they started to smile. That wasn't just comic relief. That was Taehyung diffusing stress in the only way he knew how, with presence, not words. And then there's his care for Jimin. Their friendship is legendary among ARMY. But what people often miss is just how one-sidedly protective V can be. He's always been Jimin's emotional bodyguard. When Jimin gets too down on himself, it's V who posts goofy selfies. When Jimin doubts his performance, V posts compliments. And when Jimin cries, V doesn't react with words. He moves closer, touches his arm, breathes slower, regulates the moment with his energy. That's not just friendship, that's emotional anchoring. In interviews, V rarely talks about himself, but he always mentions the members. He once said, "I'm not sure what kind of artist I am, but I know what kind of team we are, and I want us to stay like this." That's a man who finds identity not in himself, but in connection. And when Jin left for the military, V was the one who quietly posted a photo with no caption, just 2 hands, his and Jin's. That's how he grieves. That's how he shows love. In symbols, in silence, in gestures that echo louder than any reverse post. And don't even get us started on how he treats the younger members. Jungkook has often said that V was the one who made him laugh when he didn't know how to express his feelings. When J-Hope's mother passed away, it was V who made sure the energy backstage was light but respectful. And when RM once choked on stage trying to speak from the heart, V leaned forward, whispering, "Take your time, we're here." His song, Blue and Grey, wasn't just about his own sadness. It was a letter to the group. A quiet confession. A way to say, if any of you are hurting and can't speak about it, I feel it too. That's a level of caring that transcends words. That's spiritual empathy. Why isn't he number 1 then? Because Taehyung still struggles with showing that care in direct ways. He'll delay responding to messages. He'll vanish for days. He doesn't always express when he needs help because he doesn't want to be a burden. And that sometimes makes him hard to read for the other members. But when something big happens, he's always the one who shows up first. In a group filled with expressive hearts, V is the soul, the silent guardian, the one who holds the group's emotional pulse like a secret in his pocket. And now, we enter sacred ground. Who are the last 2 standing? Who truly carries BTS when everything else collapses? Who gives not just love, but leadership, sacrifice, and emotional labor in ways the world will never fully understand? Number 2, RM, the emotional architect of BTS. He doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve, but on everyone else's. Namjoon, the leader of BTS, is not just the guy with over 148 IQ points, the eloquent speeches at the UN, or the deep-voiced poet who walks museums alone in Berlin. No, Namjoon is the backbone, the bridge, and the emotional compass of the group. His kind of caring isn't always flashy, but it's the most deliberate, the most intentional, and in many ways, the most exhausting form of love, leadership. Being a leader in BTS isn't about barking orders or choreographing success. It's about absorbing 7 emotional worlds and finding a way to make them move as one. RM does exactly that, constantly, without complaint, without needing applause, and often, without rest. Since debut, he's been the one translating the chaos of being an idol into language the world can understand. But here's the part people forget. He's also been translating the members' pain into understanding. When Taehyung felt misunderstood during the Wings era, it was Namjoon who helped him shape his feelings into music. When Jungkook felt crushed by expectations, it was Namjoon who pulled him aside and reminded him he wasn't just the maknae, he was the soul of the stage. And when Jin felt insecure about aging out, Namjoon was the first to say, "Without you, we would have never made it." That's the magic of RM. He sees people. Not just their image, but their burdens. And then, without asking for anything in return, he carries part of those burdens himself. One of the most powerful behind-the-scenes moments ever recorded was right after the Billboard Top Social Artist win in 2017. The group had broken records. The world was watching. And yet, RM's first action backstage wasn't celebration, it was checking on the members. He asked if Yoongi needed a minute to breathe. He reminded Jungkook to hydrate. He even tied J-Hope's shoelace. And he did all this like it was second nature because for him, it is. But the weight of caring that deeply? It comes with a cost. Namjoon has confessed sometimes in music, sometimes in interviews that he often doesn't sleep well, that he carries guilt for decisions made under pressure, that when a member is hurting, he wonders if he failed them. Can you imagine the emotional labor of feeling responsible for the happiness of 6 grown men, all while leading the most influential boy band of the 21st century? And yet, he never makes it about him. Remember his letter to ARMY during Festa? He didn't just thank fans, he wrote to the members, reflecting on each one's growth, pain, and beauty. His words weren't just poetic, they were surgical. He knows each member's emotional DNA by heart. That's not friendship, that's devotion. He's also the first to absorb the world's anger. When controversies hit, whether it's translation, backlash, performance critiques, or political tension, it's RM who steps forward to speak, not because he wants the spotlight, but because he wants to protect the others from the fire. But here's why he's not number one. RM sometimes forgets he's allowed to fall apart too. He bottles pain so the others can breathe. He sacrifices sleep, peace, and even personal expression so that BTS stays aligned. And while the members love him deeply, even they admit Namjoon doesn't always let himself receive the care he gives so freely. Still, without him, the BTS you know wouldn't exist. Without him, the group would have cracked under the weight of fame, fear, and fatigue. RM isn't just the brain of BTS. He's the heart that listens, the hands that hold, and the spine that keeps them standing. So, if he's number 2, who could possibly be number 1? Well, what if we told you that the member who ranks highest on this list is someone often misunderstood as the funny guy, the shoulder hyung, the one who seems carefree but is actually the most selfless, emotionally present, and secretly protective of them all? Number 1, Jin, the selfless guardian in disguise. He jokes, he laughs, he calls himself worldwide handsome. But let's rip away the memes, the viral clips, the dad jokes, and look at who Seokjin really is: the eldest brother, the emotional shield, and the silent glue that has held BTS together through every single storm. Jin isn't just caring, he's sacrificial. He's not just thoughtful, he's unflinchingly loyal. And he doesn't just protect BTS with words, he does it with actions that no camera ever catches, with gestures so subtle you almost miss them, until you realize he's been the emotional lifeline of the group all along. From the early days, Jin made it his responsibility to make the members laugh when things got hard. During their lowest points, when they were broke, tired, and unsure of their future, Jin cooked for them, literally, cooked. He bought food with his own money. Not because anyone asked, but because he saw the exhaustion in their faces, and couldn't bear to see his younger brothers go hungry. He turned every cramped dorm dinner into a moment of comfort. And he never once bragged about it. He once said, "I'm not the best dancer, or the best singer, but I can be the person who makes everyone feel okay." That might sound humble, but it's actually the deepest form of care to choose emotional labor over glory. To say, "I'll be the one who holds everyone else up, even if it means no one ever notices I'm tired." When members cry, Jin doesn't cry first. He reaches for their shoulders, wipes their tears, makes a joke not to dismiss the moment, but to give them space to cry without shame. He's the one who sits beside a grieving J-Hope in silence, who distracts Jungkook when he's overwhelmed, who gently guides V out of his mental spirals without ever forcing a conversation. And when it comes to pain, Jin carries his alone. He's had physical injuries, shoulder pain, finger surgery. He's gone on stage with injuries and never complained. Why? Because he didn't want to disrupt the performance for the group, because he didn't want the fans to worry, because he believed the smile he forced might be enough to keep someone else from breaking down. Even during their world tours, when exhaustion reached breaking point, Jin kept showing up to interviews with energy, not because he felt great, but because he refused to let the team be seen as tired. That's protective love at a level most people can't understand. One of the most telling moments? The day Jin enlisted for military service. He smiled. He reassured the members. He hugged each one tightly, told them to eat well, stay healthy, and even made jokes so they wouldn't cry. And when he turned away, finally alone, only then did he allow himself to tear up. Because for Jin, being the Hyung means shielding everyone else's sadness, even if it means swallowing his own. He doesn't post the most sentimental messages. He doesn't give flowery speeches. But he shows his love in ways that change lives. He deflects pressure. He absorbs blame. He gives spotlight, he hides pain. He is the reason the group has a safe emotional center. He is the reason younger members never felt alone in their darkest moments. He is the first to offer laughter, the last to fall apart. Jin may joke that he's just the visual, the funny guy, the shoulder hang. But here's the truth. He is the most emotionally generous member in BTS. He's number one on this list not because he's perfect, but because he's the most selfless guardian disguised as the most unserious man. And if you've ever felt that BTS is a family, it's probably because Jin made it feel that way. And now you know, behind every powerful group of 7 there's one soul making sure the others never crumble. That soul is Seokjin.